This is develop project charter. And since it's a beginning of the project as such, so there are not many things available in hand as an input. And the input available for the purpose of the develop project charter is the project statement of work. And that's the statement which is very clearly understood that once the sponsor is actually putting a proposal, he would mention that what is the job we are supposed to deliver on by the way of the project. And this is what is in short called as the statement of work. At places it would be also called with a short form called SOW. The next thing comes as that the business case. So what is this business case means? Business case means a justification from the business perspective that why we are executing this project. And if we are executing this project, for sure there is a purpose behind it, and that purpose is justified in a business case with the output it is going to produce, and it would also mention on the benefits which it is going to produce. And this output or a benefit, what we are going to talk about, that output or a benefit would be a justification of that business case. When we start the project, the first document what becomes the basis is the document called project charter. And in the forthcoming slides, what we will do is we will take up each of these terms separately, and we should give you the more details on the inputs, tools and techniques in detail. And then we would come back again on the slide 7 to know that are we clear on each of those respective inputs, tools and techniques and outputs. So let me take you through the slide 8, discuss on each of those input areas, then tools and techniques, then output, and then come back on this slide again saying where are we. Yeah, so that's how we would proceed from here. So all projects, they start with project charter. So that means project charter becomes a formal document which very clearly defines the authority, and this is the document which very clearly creates the need of the project as such. And remember one main thing, in a lot of scenarios, the project manager also sits with the project sponsor or a steering committee or a PMO when they are writing the project charters. So a recommendation from the PMP perspective is that it is always good that a project manager is involved from the project charter stage itself. That's a recommendation. However, it is not a mandate. There are times when the project sponsor, the PMO or the portfolio steering committee, they can decide on the charter and they can bring back the project manager after the charter is created. But the ideal way for doing this is that it is better to involve the project manager in writing the project charter so that he is very clear on what to deliver. And remember, this is the first thing that is done in any of the new project. So two things what you should remember. The project charter formally authorizes the existence of project by the sponsor or by the PMO or by the portfolio steering committee. That is one. The second is the charter authorizes the project manager to apply organization resources to the project activities. You got it? So once the charter is available, then only the project manager is authorized to pick up the resources in the organization and talk about it. So basically, who's the sponsor? The person who pays for the project. Correct? We discussed that. Great to know. There's a feedback coming in on the stuff saying in one organization, project sponsor approves it. Yes, that's the way the project generally goes. But you remember, organization influences. So it's all depending on how the organization is structured. The another question is, why is the PMO name coming into the picture to approve the project charter? There are organizations in which there is a centralized body, which is the PMO. They have been given the task of starting up with the new project, because that's a formal governance available in an organization to deal with the projects. So in all those cases, they make the project management organization, project management office, as the sponsor. So that's depending on the different organization styles. So it is not a mandate that only sponsor can actually give you the project charter. This is all depending on the organization, and that's how the multiple names are used for the purpose of giving you the details. So very clearly, two things to remember. Charter formally authorizes the existence of project, and charter also authorizes the project manager to apply organizational resources to the project activities. So what are the requirements we have when we want to create a project charter? Or if I need to put up this question in another way, why is the need of a project? This is what is a question which is answered in this slide. Why is that we need a project? The purpose why you need a project, it could be a market demand. Maybe the competitors have introduced a kind of a product and your organization is missing on. So there is a market demand. Or it's a new product coming in and everybody wants to start up with this project to come up with a new product. It could be a technological advancement. Maybe you already have a software package with you, but you know that the various other softwares which the software should be compatible of, they are moving on to the next version. So it is actually in your interest to keep ahead with the technology and go forward to ensure there is a development which is taken care of, which is maybe in the form of the project. The next thing comes is a business need. The fourth comes is a legal requirement. It could be a compliance by the government saying, hey, starting April 1st, starting May 1st, you have to be compliant on the taxation and the rules and stuff. So that creates a need for the organization to customize their respective product or software or stuff to be in line with the regulations what has been set up. It could be a social need. It could be a customer request that he wanted to create a project. So these are the different areas which would be focusing or which would be pushing the need of the project. And these needs what are going to be mentioned here, they have to be used by the project manager or the sponsor to be used as the business case. So once you know why that project is created, you can actually build up the business case around that theory. So going forward, if we have to look back on a customer request, let me share with you one small example for the need because of a customer request. So there is a customer who is pretty much willing to take a step forward and step forward in terms of creating a difference between what his organization delivers versus the other organization delivers. The example I'm giving it from a construction industry now. So there are various builders who are bringing up the buildings and the apartments. But one builder is very clear. Then he says, I wanted to use the green technology. I wanted to have the natural air coming into my the buildings. And he would also like to apply for the green certification going forward so that he differentiates and distinguishes his set of work from the other builders. So this builder is actually a customer for you. So it's a customer request which is coming into you saying, hey gentlemen, I need such and such requirements and please deliver a project for me. And maybe that's a first building which he wants to produce, which is maybe a green compatible building, having use of more of the natural light, and also creating an example of the power usage being the least. So that's an example from the customer request perspective. And the social need kind of project would be very much needed from the social infrastructures perspective. For example, if there is a need to build up some homes for the people who are staying in on the roads, for the on-street guys, so that's a social need that we need to create something for them. That is one. And the another social need also could be, if there is a scarcity of a particular resource in an area, so it becomes a social justification or a social requirement for us to create a facility for them. And a very clear-cut example on a social need can be taken up, that if we are going to create some basic infrastructure for a social sector, that would be the example of the social need, a project because of a social need. The social need project would have a justification very clearly that once we are able to deliver the output, it is justifying back to the society for the particular activity what has been delivered back. So next thing for us to know is that look at the inputs what are needed. Let us look at the inputs what are needed for the project charter. We talked about scope of work, and scope of work is now given a little breakup so that we know. So basically what a scope of work is, that it's a description, narrative description of the products or the services to be delivered by the project. And the scope of work should include the product scope description. The word you need to pay an attention, the word written is product scope description. So don't get confused with project. Then on the left hand side, you look at very clearly, we must know what the business needs are. And of course, what are the strategic plans? So these should be part of the scope of work. That was the first input to the develop project charter. Look at what business case. Business case very clearly defines why the project is worthy of the organization money. It's a document which justifies the need of that project. This is a document which talks about the cost benefit analysis. It gives an indication that why are we into that project, what we need to invest, what are the benefits we are going to gain out of it. So this is which is part of the business case. The next thing comes as a contract. Contracts is something which is, I would say, a guideline. Not necessarily you will have the contracts available at every organization in advance. So the major item which is a basis for the project charter is the scope of work, is the business case, and if at all there is an availability, it would be the contract. And you know very clearly that the business case, you have to pick up the leads from the need by the market, the need by the organization, the customer request, the technological advancement. It could be a legal requirement, it could be an ecological impact, it could be a social need. Let me discuss on two more inputs which were there for the project charter, and those inputs were enterprise environmental factors. What is meant by the enterprise environment factors was the factors which can influence the activity of a developed project charter are the factors from the environmental perspective. If you remember why there is a need to create a project, you discussed it could be a social need, it could be a technological advancement, it could be a customer request, it could be a legal requirement coming in. So since we are working in an environment which is pretty much can change depending on the organization needs, the country needs, maybe the society needs. So we need to pay attention to those of the activities. It could be a government standard which is changing in. It could be an industry standard or a regulation which is changing in. So we have to keep ourselves updated on those parameters, and that's the reason that the environmental factors are actually used as an input to this process. And the second one is the organization process assets. You have already read the definition of organization process asset in the previous modules. And this means that the processes what an organization follows, the rules, the policies, the guidelines, the process, the authority, various templates what an organization expects you to use. Those templates could be pertaining to a project charter. Those templates could be pertaining to the various processes. And with the help of the organizational process asset, you would also know that what are the lessons learned, and maybe if there are any historical information available on that project. Remember these two activities, these two inputs, which is enterprise environment factors. In short, it is called as an EEF. And the next one, which is organization process asset, in short, it would also be called as an OPA. These two would be the inputs to majority of the processes going forward. So it would become a very common input to any of the processes once we go forward. And once I take you through on the various processes, you would find out that these names are the most frequent names appearing as an input to all of the processes.